Hey, everybody. So good evening, good evening, good evening. I am happy to see you once again. It seems like we've seen a lot of each other this week. There's been some scheduled lives, some impromptu lives, some, breaking news lives. And, it's one of those things that I want to bring you the information when I have it, when it's important, when it's relevant, when it's necessary. And I do feel a little bit of I don't know, pressure is not the right word, but responsibility when it's something surrounding your healthcare, when it's something surrounding the schools, when it's something that's surrounding physicians, and especially information that's being put out, misinformation that's being put out, to get the information to you as quickly as possible. You may notice that I am not, I'm now broadcasting from the Rantings of Danny page and then sharing it to my personal page. That is because I want to see all of your comments. Your comments are important. I want to make sure that they are seen, heard, and addressed. So hopefully this works like it did earlier, and you guys can, no matter where you're watching from, you are able to see me, interact with me, comment, and all of that. And I hope you're doing well. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, because tonight is going to be a little bit of a different live. So as you know, many people who follow me know I'm a certified life coach, amongst the other many hats that I do wear. And I'm going to have, in the second half of the show today, another certified life coach who also happens to be a minister and a pastor. And we're going to be talking about, how to live well, how to cope, how to be okay. Hey, Sherry, how are you? In the midst of everything that we are facing, right? Because, mental health in this country and around the world has always been kind of last on the totem pole of things that we need to be addressing, emotional health and well-being as well. And, it's even more so in the midst of a global pandemic. So we're going to talk about that later. But first and foremost, what I want to start the evening with sharing with you is an email that was sent to me today. And there's a reason why this email is incredibly important. Before going live with this information, I did review it with a physician that I respect highly, and wanted to get this physician's opinion. Was this as concerning to this individual as it was to me? And I will tell you this: at the end of me sharing the entirety of this email exchange with this physician who was local in the area, the response to me was, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that if I were that parent, I would be reporting it to the board for licensure. Hey, Addie, how are you? I would be reporting it to the dean of the Quillen College of Medicine, to the chair of the OBGYN department at ETSU, because Dr. Ginger Carter is an OBGYN at ETSU Physicians and Associates. She has privileges and works at Franklin Woods Hospital for Ballad Health. She is also an assistant professor at the Quillen College of Medicine for East Tennessee State University. Now, earlier in my broadcast, you heard me go over East Tennessee State University's guidelines concerning statements made by staff, public statements made by staff when they are in non-clinical roles and when they are, when they're out in the public. And so I want to, God, I have so much information these days, but I want to review with you very quickly what their handbook says. So this is from the ETSU Faculty Handbook on Public Statements by Faculty. And here is what it says. It says, quote, "When the faculty member speaks or writes as a citizen, she should be free from university/college censorship or discipline, but her special position in the community imposes special obligations. As a man or woman of learning and an educational officer, she should remember that the public may judge the profession and the university/college by the faculty member's utterances. Hence, a faculty member should at all times be accurate, should exercise appropriate restraint, should show respect for the opinions of others, and should make every effort to indicate that he/she does not speak for the university/college. let me say this. This becomes even more relevant because the email information that I'm about to share with you was sent to the parent of a child in the Johnson City school system via Dr. Ginger Carter's ETSU email address. It came from her cartergw@mail.etsu.edu email address. So if ETSU needs to take appropriate action, because now you are responding with the university's email address as a representative of their Department of OBGYN, of their College of Medicine, of ETSU physicians and associates. Like, you, make no mistake, are in fact representing them at this time. So if anybody who's watching from my personal page could comment, I just want to make sure that I can see those comments. Okay. Here's what happened. An email was sent to hey, Denise, you're welcome. An email was sent to the entire Johnson City School Board. Hey, Sarah, and thank you guys. Hey, Jamie. And it was sent by a parent with a child in the school system. Now, let me just say this. I have been asked by the individual who sent me this to not share their name and to not publish all of the email in its entirety. I have agreed to do that. You all know that I am very careful with sources when information is given to me. I will tell you, hey, Sally, hey, Christy. I will tell you that when it was first sent to me, it was like kind of pieced together in one email, and I asked for the entire exchange to be emailed to me for verification that it did in fact come from her. Hey, Kia. All right. So in a nutshell, this is what the parent said. And here's the other thing that's very important, in my opinion. This email exchange included all the members of the Johnson City, Tennessee School Board of Education, the Board of Education. So I need you to understand that the other people who sit on the board with Dr. Ginger Carter saw this information that she sent to a parent. And this was prior to their meeting the other night. And they didn't step in and correct anything. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you? So here we go. The mom sends the email and says, members of the School Board of Johnson City, as we enter the 21-22 school year, I'm calling on you to consider the latest recommendations of the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Center for Disease Control regarding masks for children in school. She then goes on to actually say what those guidelines are. The fact that if you are 2 or over, they want you to wear a mask, especially if you're not fully vaccinated, and indoor settings and crowded settings, all of that. The mom goes on to say, children under 12 are currently not eligible to receive the vaccine, right? But here's what I love about this exchange. The mom goes on to express that the American Academy of Pediatrics expresses continued concerns for variants that are more easily spread among children, adolescents, and adults. We're aware of the presence of the Delta variant in our local community. It's imperative that we follow the guidelines of the CDC and the AAP, right, to reduce COVID transmission. And the mom actually includes, listen to this, the mom actually includes links for citations for the factual information that she's providing to the Board of Education. And she actually says, for those concerned about the effects of masking on children, the JAMA network has recently retracted an erroneous study out of Italy claiming that masks are associated with episodes of oxygen desaturation. There is no evidence to suggest masks are harmful to children's respiratory systems. In addition, recently published data from researchers at the University of Wisconsin, working in concert with the National Institutes of Health, have determined that masks carry minimal impact on social and emotional development in children. Again, this is a very well-informed, from valid sources, right? This is a parent who has done her homework, and she is sending this information to the Board of Education with the citations. So the initial response that comes back from Dr. Ginger Carter says, hold on, I want to get all my pieces together. Basically says to this mom, thanks for your email, right? We will be considering many sources of information, and there is, quote, conflicting data. She put quotes around conflicting data. She says the decision of whether to wear a mask or not will, of course, leave some unhappy. The current policy is that masks are optional, and of course, there's always an option for students. She goes on to say some things that surprised me. So one of the things that Dr. Ginger Carter said is that she says she's not sure if the age limit will be lowered, but as things are going, it wouldn't surprise her if, quote unquote, they give emergency declaration to lower the age, although children, and this is what Dr. Ginger Carter said, children have not been in any current studies or trials. This mom fact checks her on that, but I'll get there in a second. Then she says the FDA trials on adults were not to conclude until January 2023, but the FDA may have approved this drug. And Dr. Ginger Carter called the COVID-19 vaccine a, quote, biological agent. Listen to what she says. The FDA trials in adults were not to conclude until January 2023, but the FDA may approve this without the trials being completed, not as a vaccine, but as a, quote unquote, biological agent. Okay. Hey, Teresa Love. And she talks about these complications from the COVID-19 vaccine in children, right? Talking about myocarditis and some other complications, right? And then she begins to go on and she says that the risk of complication of COVID in children is extremely low. Tell that to the parents of the children who are dying and on ventilators. And she says studies have also concluded that children are not the spreaders of this virus. And then she says that she cannot ignore the mental health effects that the isolation, masks, and social distancing, not to mention delays in learning, have caused our children, right? And she mentioned psychiatric increases and things like that, which when you're in the middle of a global pandemic, you would expect to have some issues with psychological issues, not just in children, but for everyone, right? So this mom responds, and I have to tell you, I have a slight girl crush on this mom because she is so damn factual. I love it. Like I love her ability to present the information and argue on behalf of the health and well-being of her children and fact check this physician. So let me keep going. This mom responds back. And I want to read a lot of this to you. And I know you're like, holy geez, that's a lot. But I want to read it to you because this is important information. And this mom provides the citations, which I will post them later if you would like. But the mom goes back and just says, in my initial email, I cited the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Centers for Disease Control recommendations, both of which call for universal masking in children. These organizations represent the gold standard in children's health and infectious disease expertise. I question why their recommendations would be disregarded in favor of the largely anecdotal evidence you provided in your reply. I find your assertion that children are not, quote unquote, spreaders of COVID and are at low risk of complications to be cavalier. The American Academy of Pediatrics reported last week that more than 4 million American young children and adolescents have tested positive for the virus. 4 million. COVID-19 rates are now highest among children, says Dr. Priya Sonai, a pediatric infectious disease expert at Cedars-Sinai. In fact, children make up about 1/4 of new COVID-19 cases. Holy geez, guys. And these citations are included in this email. This mom goes on to address the concerns around like some of the issues like the myocarditis that Dr. Ginger Carter that brought up, right? And the reason I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about these is because I actually have 2 pediatricians who will be on with me on the 16th who are going to go into great detail for you and give you evidence, fact-based medical evidence around those things in your children. But she is, when I tell you, holy Jesus, she gives 6 citations, right? She says also, you may not be aware, but vaccine trials for children under 12 are underway by both Pfizer and Moderna. The FDA has requested 3,000 children ages 5 to 11 be a part of these studies. A spokesman for Moderna, Ray Jordan, confirmed that the company intends to expand its trial, quote, to enroll a larger safety database, which increases the likelihood of detecting rarer events, end quote. And they expect to seek emergency authorization in winter 2021 or early 2022, right? I'm not going to read everything that the mom says, right? But to say that it is factual, evidence-based from reliable, credible sources, respected sources throughout the medical community is putting it mildly. She's on it, okay? The mom ends by saying, in closing, I appreciate the time and concern you and the board have dedicated to this issue. I maintain that the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC are the best qualified to make decisions about masking that is in the best interest of students and our communities at large. I would urge the board to support these efforts and require universal masking in our schools. Here is where I became flabbergasted. Okay. I want you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to share with you right now. Dr. Ginger Carter, ETSU physicians, OBGYN, assistant professor at East Tennessee State University, and doctor at Ballad Health Hospitals, said to this mom in response to all of that evidence, fact-based information, this. She said, she goes on and she talks about conflicting reports, that they're not well publicized by the mainstream media. And then she says, and remember, this is coming from her ETSU official email address. She says to you, I will attach, which she does, one of the more recent ones from the America's Frontline Doctors for your review. Now, if you remember the America's Frontline Doctors, you know that one of them, the founder, was arrested for participating in the riots and the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. That's Simone Gold. You remember that Stella, whatever her name is, believed that alien DNA was being used. Remember, this is the American Frontline Doctors, and this is a local OBGYN rebutting a parent's information with reports from the WHO and the CDC and Cedars-Sinai and the American Academy of Pediatrics with information from the America's Frontline Doctors. And then Dr. Ginger Carter went on to say, unfortunately, the American Academy of Pediatrics and even the CDC is becoming more like a political action committee, and it is very sad to see how they are being influenced by politics, donors, etc. Listen, she goes on to say, unless it has changed, Pfizer was a big donor to the AAP. She also says, many pediatricians no longer support them with their membership, just as I can no longer support American College of OBGYN with membership dues because of their alliances with donors and politics. So this is a physician, an OBGYN, who says she is no longer a part and no longer has membership with the American College of OBGYN. I am flabbergasted that this doctor sent this information to a parent and helped to spread this misinformation. I am appalled that it was sent on a university email address, and it was. I'm looking at it. I can tell you the date and the time that it was sent. I am disgusted that every board member was included on this email address. I'm reading your names: Kathy Bruce Hall, Robert Williams, Treese M, Haggart, whoever that is, Simpson E, Green Lee, right? You all are on this email thread. And my question to you is, where are you in the midst of all of this? Now, before I end, I want you to hear, she didn't say all of this at the board meeting, but here is Dr. Ginger Carter saying this at the Johnson City, Tennessee Board of Education meeting earlier this week herself.
Barnett brought up the press conference with, of course, Governor.
You had something. Dr. Carter, you had something.
Well, and I'm glad Dr. Barnett brought up the press conference with, of course, Governor Lee and the Speaker of the House, Representative Sexton. But I did want to say, because I think it's important, and obviously many in the community have emailed or they've come to speak, and it is confusing. You know, there is conflicting data. I think one of the speakers even mentioned that. Like I woke up this morning and a local, well, in the tri-state area, pulmonologist had sent 47 studies confirm the ineffectiveness of masks and 32, you know, the negative health effects. So you can find this, you know, but what I wanted to say too, you know, we wake up every morning and the CDC has a new set of guidelines and it's very confusing. And, you know, the recent set of guidelines was from some, you know, study that was rejected in peer review. And so I just, you know, the board hears what the public hears. You know, we wake up and we hear what the CDC says. We wake up and hear what the American Academy of Peds says, but we also need to ask questions. I mean, you know, who funds American Academy of Pediatrics? Pfizer puts a lot of money into that. I just think I'm saying this too to say that I feel like it is sort of a sad time to be in medicine because, you know, and I think everybody is intelligent and you have people that line up on both sides. But I think it's digging in these questions as to why, and I'll even say this to go as far as locally, is, you know, the headlines on our newspapers or on the local TV stations and all the warnings from Ballad. And my question to them is, well, you are sponsoring an Alabama concert at the Bristol Motor Speedway on August the 14th. These messages cause the confusion in the community, and the board hears those same things. And I think it's, you know, like I said, we don't have any special information that you guys have. So all that data, studies, everything's the same. I think it's just time, you know, for us to dig a little bit, ask those questions. Why is this? Why do we get so much conflicting data? And I'm so glad that Representative Sexton and Governor Lee said that, because I do feel like that is parents' choice, because parents, you know, although I feel like all of us care about the children in this community, nobody cares about a child more than the parent. So I just want to say that, you know, some people are not going to be happy with this mask optional, and some people are going to be happy. But let's just, you know, do what's best for our kids. I want our kids to be in school, and I just cannot forget about the learning loss and the mental health effects that our kids had last year. But I do appreciate everybody and all the differing opinions. And so anyway, and thank you, Dr. Wallace.
Okay, so let me say this. I want to say this. So first of all, she's wrong. I covered it in a live the other day, and I'm going to say it once more. Pfizer donated $150,000 for the CATCH program, which was community access to healthcare. It was a specific grant program that they helped fund. They are not the largest donor. I posted links to the American Academy of Pediatrics website so you can see who their corporate partners are. You can see that she's believing social media posts instead of doing any legitimate research herself. And she is passing that misinformation on to parents and students in this community as a physician, as an educator, and as a representative of Ballad Health and ETSU. And you guys are responsible for taking action where this physician is concerned. I'm just saying, period. I'm over it. I can't deal. Once I became aware, and once I got the email, I had no choice but to share it with you all. I have advised the mother to file, because she feels very strongly about this, that she can file a complaint. And let me give you guys the additional information. If you would like to file a complaint, and you believe that Dr. Ginger Carter is giving misinformation, you're welcome, Teresa, out to the public that is dangerous, that may be harmful to the health and well-being of our children and our communities. As a physician and as an educator at the university, you can file those complaints. You can send them to the dean of the College of Medicine, which is Dr. William Block. You can reach him at deanofmedicine@etsu.edu. You can also send that information to, hold on one second. The interim chair is Hans Heisland. But his contact information isn't there. You can also send it to Sherry Holmes. She is the assistant professor and vice chair of the department, the OBGYN department at East Tennessee State University. Her email address is holmes@etsu.edu. And of course, you can file a complaint against her with the Tennessee Department of Health as a healthcare professional with a licensing board. And I am putting the link to be able to do that in the comments right now. All right, I promised you guys that I was going to swing tonight's broadcast, and I was going to give you some tools and some information and some conversation that will hopefully help you find how to balance in the midst of the times that we're living in, to find out how to still tap into your purpose, how to still live with intention, how to still find emotional, physical, spiritual, and mental balance in the midst of all of this. And I'll be honest, it's difficult. Today, I was so drained after my earlier broadcast, I sat down to eat my lunch and found myself asleep on the couch. It just happens. But I'm joined tonight by Dr. Walter Sims. He is a certified life coach. He is a minister and a pastor. I know y'all are like, wait a minute, Danny, you be cussing all the time. You got a preacher on here. Listen, he and we have known each other for years via social media, and we are fans. This is the thing. You don't have to be the same to appreciate and find commonalities and common ground and respect and be interested in each other's health and well-being. And so without any further ado, I am going to bring on Dr. Walter Sims. And see, some people are still commenting on the other topic. Guys, I'm going to switch gears. Just ride with me. And please do me a favor and stay here, because all of you all have got to be as emotionally tired as I am.
That's right.
And this might be out of the norm for me, but I do believe it will be beneficial. Okay, so hang tight with me. I know this is something different, but it's important. So just as important as making you aware of what's going on in the community and with these physicians and healthcare and all of that is as important as getting you to tap in and say, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Because we all have to figure that out. So Dr. Sims, thank you for joining me this evening. I've been on your podcast a couple of times.
That's right. And the third time coming up in a couple of weeks.
Okay. I was not aware of that, but okay, I got it. Yeah, you guys, I know. And she does say, so Denise, let me just address your comment. Denise says she's afraid that the doctor I was just talking about represents more doctors around here than not.
Right.
In her email, she does refer to some other physicians that meet together. Right. My hope is that by exposing this information, people can dive in and maybe find out who these physicians are and let them be held accountable for the things that they make. So do me a favor, Dr. Sims, tell them a little bit about you, your background, what it is that you do on a regular basis, so that they get a feel for you. Those of you who haven't met you before.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Sims, America's #1 personal development expert. As my dear sister Danny was saying, I'm a pastor, I'm a life coach, I'm an author, I'm a professional speaker. I host a daily show on Facebook and YouTube. And I just love helping people realize their purpose. And I wrote a book during the pandemic, Finding Christ in Crisis, Staying Focused even in challenging times. And like you said a moment ago, we need to have tools to help keep us balanced, because you and I were talking in pre-production. There's always something. And I heard on TikTok a young man rattle off all the stuff that people over 25 have endured over the last 2 to 3 decades. And we have endured a lot of stuff, and we're still here. And so I'm just here to be another voice of encouragement, inspiration, motivation, and I'm here to pump you up.
So that's the thing that I want to do. So I do want to open it up for those of you guys who are watching to be able to ask questions, to be able to comment and join in this conversation. It is never, so listen, a lot of times we are scared to say something because we're like, well, right, I don't want anybody to know that I'm feeling this, or that I'm dealing with this, or that I'm struggling with this. And the thing is, 9 times out of 10, somebody else that is watching has the same thing, either in that same area or in another same area. And we are here to uplift and uphold. Now, one of the things that I have found interesting over the course of the last 18 months is, because of the pandemic, people are reevaluating what's important to them.
Amen.
People are reevaluating what's important to them. And you've seen as jobs open back up and different things happen, you've seen people even say, you know what, I'd rather start my own business. You know what, I'd rather make less money than to do that. People have kind of found in the midst of all of this, what seems to be adversity.
That's exactly right.
This crack in the wall to actually discover their purpose. So now when you have someone come to you and they say, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in this life, but I know it's not sitting in this cubicle, or I know it's not selling cars, or I know it's not whatever. What do you say to people who are looking to kind of find their way, or if they believe in their heart, they know they're meant for something different and they're not sure how to live in that where they are? What do you say?
One of my 6 books that I have written talks about walk in purpose, grow rich. And it's really a template to figure out your why. And again, you and I were talking before our interview tonight. We have a reason for being here. And I believe that the God of this universe, the source, the universe, has put all of us under contract. And to fulfill that contract, you need to get in your lane as quickly as you possibly can. And one of the ways that I help people, I'm working with a young man right now. He's relocating because he's getting married in 2 weeks, and I'm performing the ceremony. So part of me working with him and his future wife is that I'm going to work on him because he's in the midst of a reinvention. He's relocating cities to be with his new bride. And so I said, since you are having a timeout, your wife is giving you grace to the end of the year to really figure out your next. And one of the ways I help people figure out their next, Danny, and your audience, and thank you for having me this evening. One way I figured that out is, let's take money off the table, because many people are on a job because they got a nice income. And I was talking to one of my guests this morning. She does not want to leave her nursing profession because she said the money is so good. And I said, well, let's take money off the table. Why are you here? What would you be doing if money wasn't an issue? If you won the lottery, you got $50 million in the bank, money is off the table, because a lot of people are working because they need money. So let's take that out of the equation. So what would you be doing if you had to do it for no charge at all? And you just do it because you have the gifting, the desire, the drive, the want to, and all those things line up. What is that thing? A second way we approach it, going through the back door. Let's say God stopped time for you today, Danny. And God said, the only way I'll start your clock is you tell me what you'll go back down to earth and do for the remainder of your day. I want to make more money. You're not going to say, I want to be TikTok famous. You're not going to say, I want to be worldwide known. You're going to say, I'm going to do blank. If you give me more time, I will do what you call me to do. And that gets people to thinking like, wow. Because what has happened over the course of this pandemic, people that have been working in the service industry for minimum wage, they realize how undervalued they really are.
Yes.
Were. And so that causes them to sit and think, say, wait a minute, am I going to spend the rest of my days working for a low paying job? Or am I going to do that thing that brings me joy and I've been called to do? Because you see a lot of corporations now saying, well, there's a work shortage. No, there is not. You just don't want to pay people what they're worth. It's not a work shortage. That is a lie from the pits of hell. It's not a work shortage. It is a
pay people what they're worth. It's a pay people what they're worth shortage.
Thank you.
So there's so much in that you just said that I love and that I want to unpack. And probably the favorite is if you stop time, if God stopped you right now and said, listen, your days are done on this earth unless you tell me the thing you're really going to do that fills your heart, that brings you joy, that all of that, what would it be? And hey, Danye, baby. And when I think about that, like you've heard me say this, you and I have talked.
Yeah.
And so people who really get a chance to know me, like some of you guys only follow me when you see me really riled up and pissed about something wrong. Yes. Yeah. And they see me really mad. But if you notice, when you see me that passionate, it's because someone is taking advantage of, or someone is mistreating, or someone is doing something that I believe is taking advantage of people. It's just bad, right? It's not coming from a place of love. It's like this manipulation or whatever. And I get really, and I've always been this way. I've never liked it.
That's awesome.
And that's what gets me. But the goal for me is like, if I could twinkle my nose, I would like be on Bewitched and just
Bewitched.
If I could, and have it be. I dream of Genie, right? I would take what we're doing right now. I would put it on a larger platform, right?
Amen.
I would take the conversations around even the corruption and the difficulties and the struggle that we all feel, and approach it from a perspective of, okay, so, but how do we heal and grow from it? How do we still connect from it? How do we still find that common ground that allows us to understand that I am you and you are me?
That's right. And you know what's so really funny? When we've gone through Hurricane Katrina, for example, and we're going through this pandemic.
Right.
What we're realizing is, I don't care how much money you have or have not, trouble is an equal opportunity employer. And what we have learned over the last span of 18 months is that we all believe the same. And I know we're dealing with a lot of, you and I have talked about this, we're dealing with a lot of racial inequality, we're dealing with a lot of socioeconomic inequality, police brutality, etc. But what we're realizing is we all hurt the same.
We do.
93,000 people died of an overdose last year. Because basically, if you boil it down, and the numbers will show, the statistics, the analysis will show that it was pandemic related. And unlike you and I love what you said, I would love for us to be on a worldwide platform so we can tell people trouble does not last always. I know we don't see the end now, but the end is coming. And however long that is going to take,
it's truly up to us.
Exactly.
So this is my opinion. So like the end to trouble is up to us. So I'm a big believer that the lesson repeats itself until you learn. Okay.
I agree with that.
So you keep wondering why your relationships keep ending the same, because you keep dating the same spirit in a different body.
Girl, I got a webinar coming. We'll talk about that in a minute. I got a webinar.
That's what it is. Exactly. You are dating the same spirit, the same attachments, the same limiting beliefs, all of that. It's just coming in a different body. And that continues to show up until you learn the difference. And so, like for me, in 2013, I had to sit back the fall of 2013, and this was the question I asked myself: what is going on inside of me?
Oh, that's good.
That is causing me to choose these people to love and to choose love this way.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Because we're taught love is hard or love always hurts. It doesn't have to. What if we, as a collective group of people, what if we decided love doesn't hurt? Okay, so follow me. Follow me. At one point in time, the majority of the world believed that the earth was flat.
That's exactly right.
Didn't they? Everybody, like the majority of the world said, this earth is flat. And then somebody was like, you know what?
Wait a minute.
I don't think so. Like, I think this joker might be round, right? Okay. And that person was brave enough. Do you imagine the courage it had to take to whisper to somebody, I think the earth is round?
What?
Right? Because everybody's like, you stupid. You crazy.
Boo, 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 boo.
Yes.
The world is flat.
Yes.
Boo, boo, boo,
Right?
boo.
Yeah. And then they and no matter what people said to them, they kept telling enough people and enough people and enough people until enough people believed in the possibility.
Amen. Amen.
So you don't have to believe that it will actually happen, but just believe in the possibility of it, right?
Yeah.
And now here's the thing. They believed in the possibility enough to get in the damn boat.
That's it. Let's go. Let's go.
Do you believe in your possibility enough to get in your boat?
That's good. That's good.
And see where it takes you.
That's good.
Because they didn't know if they were going to come back, if they were going to fall off the edge. They didn't know. And while those people were brave, do you know who I think was even braver?
Hello.
The people who did it the second time when they didn't come back.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
Right?
And if I could piggyback on that, and it's like with anything that is unknown and even your purpose, something that you're going to do that nobody else sees or believes but you. What you're doing, what I'm doing, what your audience is doing, you got to have enough courage to stand alone.
Yes.
Until everybody start believing. And that's what you and I talked about a couple of years ago. You said as a coach, we stand with people and believe in them with them until they can believe for themselves. And it does take courage to do something that's never been done before, and to have and have a different outcome. You have to do something different.
Yes. So Kelly Harrison says, Dr. Sims, I have some changes that I know I need to make both physically and spiritually, but I just cannot seem to find the desire to actually make the changes. Is there any advice you might have about rekindling desire when it seems to be gone? Ooh, that's good.
Hey, when you get up and go has gotten up and gone.
Yes, yes.
Well,
you can tell you a preacher. When your get up and go has gotten up and gone. Okay.
Miss Kelly, that is a very powerful question. And I'm 55 now. When I turned 55 years ago, my father passed and has gone on in 2015. And one of the things I wrote about in a blog, a men's blog of what I've learned in 50 years, I had one regret. And my regret was I didn't get in the lane of ministry, professional speaking, pastorate until later. I spent a lot of time as an engineer, 30 years. If I had gotten in this lane sooner, I would have been able to develop an even deeper relationship with my father. And because one of the last things we talked about before he died was he told me how proud he was of me. And if I had gotten in this lane a little bit sooner, we could have had an even better relationship. So my challenge for you is to take a time out and see what you have done to this point. And do you want to continue tomorrow with the same energy you have today? Because the worst feeling in the world is regret. And I challenge you, and I hate to be cliche, and I wore this shirt because I'm a golfer and I love Nike shirts. And I wore this, and it's a great icon for what I'm going to tell you. And it is cliche and it's simple, but just do it. Because the best for you, Kelly, is yet to come. And you ought to get excited, as Danny said, you ought to get excited about your possibility. Get excited about what could be. And just that thought alone ought to get you going. And when you want to do some physical stuff, just go walk for 10 minutes. Walk 5 minutes one way and 5 minutes back. And you'll notice tomorrow, I want to go 6 minutes. And 6 minutes back, that's 12 minutes. And then the next day, I want to go 7 minutes. And then 7 minutes back, that's 14 minutes. All you got to do is start. See, you don't have to be great to start. But if you want to be great, you have to start. You don't have to be great to start. But if you want to be great, you got to start. And I know there's greatness in you, Kelly, because you follow Danny. And I know Danny great. So Danny only harbors great people. So I know you great by the transitive law in mathematics. I'm an engineer by vocation. So since Danny is great, Kelly, I know you great. I know greatness in you, Kelly, because of Danny.
So here's what I believe. Even the people who think they follow me because they don't like me, or they think they follow me because they disagree, they think you are attracted to me because there's a lesson in it for our exchange of energy, right? So one of the tools that I use, Kelly, when it's figuring out, whether it's figuring out forgiveness with an individual, whether it's figuring out, well, how do I get started, or how do I shift where I'm at? Here's what I do. I'll ask myself, what's the story that I made up? Okay. So for you, what's the story you made up? You said, I can't seem to find the desire to actually make the changes. That's your story. I don't have the desire, right? That's your story. So now you have to ask yourself, what is that story costing you? All right. So this is having a real, what we call a mineral rights conversation with yourself.
That's
okay.
Good.
So this thing that you know that you need to do for yourself, spiritually and physically, that you are not doing, what has it cost you by not doing it? And physically write those things down so you can see them and get real with yourself, right? Ask yourself this question. What am I going to miss out on in the future if I continue to not do this thing? So what happens to me? Do I develop heart disease? Do I have high cholesterol? Do I have a low self-esteem? What happens to me if I continue to not do this thing my gut is telling me I know I need to do?
That's good.
Right? So now you know what it's cost you, what it's going to continue to cost you, and then give yourself permission, invite yourself to start fresh right now in that moment.
That's right.
And make that shift. And all you do is you take one step. You do one thing.
That's
right.
Good.
And then you celebrate that win. You celebrate that win. If all you did was add a glass of water to your diet today, girl, that you did that one thing, celebrate that win.
And let me tack on a little bit more. And I love what Danny said. And I love what Danny talked about on my show a couple of weeks ago. You win the game that you're playing. It's on my wall. Hey, you win the game that you're playing. So it's time for you to play a new game. And so what I coach my clients with this. Kelly, future Kelly, let future Kelly write present Kelly a letter. And future Kelly is where you want to be. Let's say 10 pounds lighter and you're a millionaire. So let the slimmer, richer Kelly write the present Kelly a letter and say, child, you need to do X, Y, Z to be where old child, I can't wait till you get here. Because child, we in the Bahamas, we sipping Mai Tais, and we got these fine young folks around us. We swimming, we partying all the time. So you let yourself get excited about your new story.
So that meme that always goes around that says, do something today your future self will thank you for. So the way that I say that is I say to people, whether you believe in, you die and go to heaven, whether you believe in reincarnation, listen, I'm doing the work for the future me, whether the future me ends with this physical body, whether it ends in another, I am doing the work that my future self doesn't face the same traumas, doesn't face the same cycles, doesn't face the same hurt, doesn't face the same suffering, right? So whatever, and this is what I love. And I told him we were going to talk about this a little bit. I love having conversations around people with different thought practices and different belief systems, because the same principles apply across the board.
That's right.
Right? They apply across the board. You cannot outperform God, the universe, the creator, the love, right? You can't. And that's why sometimes you ever see somebody and you be like, they real shady. Why are they blessed? Well, they're blessed because even if they shady, they're operating in a certain principle, and that law has to be true.
There are spiritual laws. There are laws that the law of sowing and reaping.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. You better go on. Yes.
You are going to reap exactly what you sow. If you plant apples, there's no way you're going to get bananas. Now, if you get bananas from planting apples, call me or Danny. Because we want to ride that banana. We want to ride that train.
Yeah.
If you can get bananas from planting apples, call me at drwaltersim.com, Gmail, drwaltersim at gmail.com. But you're going to reap what you sow. And love, and like Danny is saying, across the board, whatever religiosity you subscribe to, love always wins. Yeah. I love Danny. I love me some Danny Cook. All of her rantings, her artistry, everything about her. I love her because she loves, she gives, she helps. When I go to London, I'm going to fly to London. I'm going to go to Atlanta. I'm going to get some of her blood, and I'm going to clone her when I get to London.
No, you ain't. Look here. You know they do not want no more of me. They can barely deal with the one we got.
because her level of commitment is off the chart. If Danny loves you, you got a friend, because she operates in the spiritual laws. She's a giver. That's one of my superpowers. I told him Sunday in church, one of my superpowers, I am a giver. I was in line at Dollar Tree this past Sunday, and I bought some knickknacks because I'm watching old movies now. I just watched Grease. I just watched Scarface. Oh, wow. I'm going watching Good Times. I'm on season 1, episode 10. And I was buying some snacks, and I watched The Vault. The Vault was good before the interview. But anyway, I was in line. I bought a lot of snacks, and this gentleman behind me just had a lighter. He had a 2-pack lighter, $1. And I said, "Is that all you got, sir?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, put it on I paid for it, and you get on out of here." You'd have thought I gave him $1 million. He said, "Really? Yeah. You sure?" Yeah. And he tried to give me the $1. I said, "I'm good. Go," because I just taught this Sunday, part of being living under the spirit of the influence of the Holy Spirit is one of the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, giving, goodness, and all that good stuff. And so I'm a giver, and Danny is a giver. So that is a spiritual law. Whatever you believe, if you don't believe in anything, if you operate in love, you're going to win.
And people do not understand that. Okay, so when you give, you hear people sometimes talk about, well, I'm not going to give to this homeless person because I think they're going to go buy alcohol, and then they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Listen, if you get your brain out of your giving, okay, if you get a nudge in your gut to give,
that's how I
operate. You give because, and here's the thing, you are not responsible for what that person does with their gift, right? That's between them and the creator, right? All you are worried about is you give, and you give without expectation, without a desire to be reimbursed. Sometimes we mess up because we get upset when the person we've given to doesn't reciprocate, doesn't give us kindness or gratitude in return. But the thing is, we look for them to give back to us. And the truth is, your bigger, better blessing may be coming from some other place, from some other person, right? So it's about simply following that gut, right? So I say, when I talk to folks that I know are Christians, I will talk to them and I'll say, hey, you got to follow the Holy Spirit, right? When Jesus ascended into heaven, he said, I'm leaving my Holy Spirit with you, right? That is our connection. That is our connection. When if you aren't a Christian, right, and you just believe in your sixth sense, your intuition, your gut, whatever name you want to call that tug, we all feel that tug, and we know what it is. And I am a believer. I told you this the other day, Doc. I believe that when we tap into that connection with that tug, when we tap in, right, it makes us better. So like,
that's right.
I believe I'm in the middle of doing something. God, I can't even say it because I need to copyright it first. But I'm in the middle of doing something right now because I believe in connection, and I believe connection is the key to everything that we want to solve. You want to solve poverty, we should get connected to the Creator and to each other.
That's right.
You want to solve your addictions. You want to solve your emotional problems. You want to solve your relationships. Get connected with the Creator and get connected with yourself. You want to solve.
Amen. You know, in that vein, and this again, this is not our conversation, but just to your point, the young lady, for instance, and I know this is really sensitive right now. The young lady, she was what, 17, 18 last year when George Floyd got murdered.
Mm-hmm.
She had enough wherewithal. She just simply did this.
Right.
And she recorded that whole event. And through
Right.
her getting involved and connected, she helped create, she impacted history, and we know the outcome.
Right.
But we and the other day I saw on TikTok this white man accosted this black homeowner, and he's gonna bow up and say, well, my address is such and such, such and such. I dare y'all to show
They
up.
came. They came. They came. They came. They
And he was like, and he got arrested. So to your point, if we get involved at whatever level,
mm-hmm.
we got involved politically, and we got a new president.
Right.
So a lot of times, to Kelly's point, we feel like my start or my impact or my value or my voice is really small. But see, God, the universe operates on volume. 1 + 1 equals a whole lot. And we got to understand 1, you plus me, now we're 2 or 1, however you want to look at it. You
better to have
plus me is 2.
Yeah. It's better to have 100 people working together for 1 hour than one person working for 100 hours. Okay. And this is the collective energy that we need if we want to see change and progress and forgiveness and growth. And if you really want to see a change in our systems and our, like, it's not just racism for me, it's classism, it's sexism, it's all of the isms that keep us from achieving and growing and accomplishing all of the things that we want to in this life, you know?
Amen, Danny.
So,
Amen, Danny.
In the middle of everything that's going on, there are parents that are watching and you're concerned about whether your children can or can't go back to school. Kayla, I have not forgotten you, honey. I'm going to come back to it for you. And there are those of you all who have children that are immunocompromised. You have, maybe you are yourself. Like all of us are facing, if we thought, I told you yesterday, it's like 2021, like we all thought 2020 was a beast. And it's like 2021 was like, hold my beer, I got you, right? It kicked off in January and kept on going. And, you know, I would say this. So I'm going to ask you this question as we get ready to kind of wrap up.
Okay.
When people want to, and we got a few more minutes, I can go as long as I want to, whatever. But if people, but when people are sitting back right now and they may be scared or struggling, right? Because a lot of people are scared right now. They're scared about their homes. They're scared about eviction. They're scared about their health and well-being. They're scared about food. And there's all this loud noise from media outlets and social media and all of that. How do you, just you personally, kind of tap it all out, like get away from all of that and stay plugged in and stay in this wonderful space and awesome energy that you always carry? How do you do that?
Thank you, Danny.
You're welcome. So because people can pick up, you know, tips and practices. So how do you do that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I talked about it Sunday and last Wednesday in Bible study. And as a matter of fact, I got to preach for one of my colleagues in Atlanta Sunday at the Lord's Church, Pastor Joe Jackson. And my message is going to be entitled, Whose Report Are You Going to Believe? And the backdrop of the story real quickly is that they were on the verge of going to the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey. Mm-hmm. And so they sent in spies. They sent in 10 and they sent in 12. 10 came back with a false report, but only 2 came and said, if we go now, we can conquer the land. So my whole message Sunday is going to be, as a believer, and I'm a traditionalist, I'm a fundamentalist, I'm a Baptist Pentecostal preacher. So my base is faith. And so that being said, as a man of faith, that's what I have to lean on is my faith. And I know God's word supersedes the volume of noise we hear today. And in God's word, he gives us encouragement. He gives us guidance. He gives us a calming to let us know. And that's what I talk about in my book, Finding Christ in Crisis, that we have our faith to hold on to. When everything else is crumbling around us, we can lean on our faith, lean on your purpose. And what I tell people, do what you can do. Wear your mask. I got the minister motivation. I traveled to 4 different areas last year in the midst of a pandemic. The planes were crowded. The waiting areas in the airports were crowded. Everybody was masked up. I did what I did. I boost my immune system. I follow the CDC. I keep my distance. I got my mask. I got my hand sanitizer. We clean the hotel when I go to hotel. I eat my fruits and vegetables. I drink my coffee every morning. I pray. I talk to the Lord. I still do my purpose, because one of my quotes says, purpose supersedes a pandemic. Whatever you're going through, it's gonna, like you said earlier, it's gonna end. You still got a purpose to fulfill. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
The long and short of it is, without giving a long answer, my simple answer is I allow my faith to help me weather the storms of life.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I would say, because I know a lot of people personally that have experienced what everybody calls church hurt, and it's not church hurt; it's spiritual hurt, right? And
Right.
one of the things that I always say to people is, it's not about church; it's about your relationship, and it's not about what other human beings do. You know, you might be this person might be a hypocrite. This person might be that. This person, but those people have nothing to do with my relationship, right? Nothing to do with my relationship. And I can fellowship, whether it's in that church or outside of that church, right? I understand that this body that I'm in happens to be my church, right?
Amen.
People be like, well, Danny, you cursed. Listen, and this is what I tell folks. Jesus knew I was going to curse when he made me. I hate to tell you, listen.
Hey, Danny, to that, go listen to my sermon from Sunday and Bible study, because girl, you must have been a butterfly on my shoulder, because this is what I want you to put in your notes, everybody. Church didn't hurt you. God didn't hurt you. The people that claim his name in the church hurt you. God didn't hurt you. You're suffering from church PTSD.
Yes.
And let me, since I'm the icon, since I'm her guest tonight and I represent faith, let me offer you an iconic apology, because a lot of times the people that hurt you don't even think that they hurt you. But listen, let me apologize. And as Danny is saying, God still loves you. And again, that's cliche, but do you know how powerful it is to know that someone loves you? Like Danny said, and trust me, I play Madden on the PS5, and when I throw an interception and lose a game by a field goal, I speak in tongues.
Lord, listen, here's the thing. I can't do. People would say, like, when I would get really, really upset, like concerning the healthcare and all that, and people would kind of, the trolls and the haters or whatever would try to kind of make fun of my faith and the things that I say. And here's my thing. Listen, y'all might forget Jesus he overturned them tables, right?
Sure did.
And he didn't ask nobody's permission before he did it, right? When you see people misusing, misrepresenting, taking advantage of, there is such a thing as righteous anger and righteous indignation. And I believe in that. I do. And here's how I know the difference.
Amen.
Is I am upset with what you are doing, right? And I want you to stop what you're doing, but I don't wish you as a human being ill will, right? I keep the energy clean.
Amen. And what I teach my fellowship, and what I am big on, is that God loves for us is not bound by our ability to comply to rules and regulations. The beauty of our faith is God's love for me is greater than my shortfalls, my shortcomings. I'm not perfect. Trust me. Trust me,
Nobody is.
I was fired from the nuclear plant. This is day 410 of my divorce. I got a divorce last year. I got 2 sons. I have not been a perfect dad. I wasn't a perfect husband. I'm not a perfect pastor. I'm not a perfect entrepreneur. I'm sharpening my piece of iron every day. I'm 55 and I'm still working on learning and growing. And that's why I adore Danny. Danny, I'm telling you in front of everybody, I adore you because I learned from you, because you said something to me 2 years ago that I remember to this day. As a coach, I share your life with you. And I use that when I talk to people. And I got that from you. And I honor everything that you do. And I love you as a sister. I love you. You're a beautiful person. And I thank God that he allowed us to cross paths.
Yeah, I think it was like Periscope days. Like
Periscope.
That's how we first connected. And we've stayed connected ever since. And so again, there's always a purpose. Like back then we didn't know that at this point in time we'd be going on each other's broadcasts and podcasts and both be coaches and all of those types of things and doing, but you never know. But what I do know is that and here's one of the things that I've learned, folks. Give yourself grace to allow what is to simply be.
That's right.
Right. And not let it become a hindrance to where you want to go.
That's right.
So there's this balance in knowing that you need to do things like Kelly was saying earlier, right? Giving yourself grace on the days that you don't have it to get it done. That's and not giving yourself so much grace that you've been on the couch for 5 days, like binge watching, right? Yeah. So there's that balance.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And let me ask this. If there's anybody else who has any other questions, whether it's for me or whether it's for Dr. Sims, throw them in the comments, because here's the thing. A lot of times people don't reach out for coaching. They don't reach out and get the little tips and encouragement that they need. And so, while I've got you here, if you need something, ask, right?
And let me do this for 2 of your followers tonight. Okay. One, I have a webinar coming up entitled That's Wifey Right There. It is a 7-step program. If you are wanting to be a wife, if you're ready, if you're tired of Mr. Right now and you're ready for Mr. Right, I got a webinar coming up August 26th. I will give you a seat in that. It's a $97 value. And to another follower and you have my email address. The first person that emails me after seeing me on your show, I will give them a power hour session, compliments of Dr. Sims.
Awesome. Check that out. Okay. So I'm going to grab this email address too, so I can throw it in here for folks. So I can throw it in here. And I appreciate that. So, guys, it's one of those things where a lot of times I know where the region where I'm from and certain cultures and communities don't look at coaching and therapy and things like that in the best light. But here's the thing. Everyone needs help sometimes.
That's right.
Everyone does. And imagine if we all felt free enough to ask for help when we need it. We have been taught that there's strength in not asking for help, when in reality, it's weakness and a hindrance, and it's your ego getting away. But what would happen if we all felt free enough to simply say, hey, I need help?
That's good.
But kids do that, don't they?
Hello.
They help me. I need help. But there's something that happens when we grow up around each other that we feel like we can no longer say that. And I will say it's because sometimes you ask for help and you don't get it. Sometimes you ask for help and you get hurt. Sometimes the people that you believe should be the ones to help you do not, and it hurts, right? But that is why you got to do the work to heal the hurt so that you can move forward and be able to ask for help and do the things that you desire to do,
Amen. That's good, Danny.
I'm going to, if there are no other questions for Dr. Sims or myself, I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I'm going to ask you, because we were talking about how to live well during this time, and we talked about how you do it. If you were going to impart a few words of wisdom, from your best, like motivational, get everybody going, right? What would you say to people as we enter into this last half of 2021 about finding and living in their purpose, and being well in the midst of everything that we are faced with?
The biggest thing, the greatest thing is As simple, again, as cliche as this is, one day at a time. This moment in time right now is perfect. We can't worry about tomorrow. It's not here yet. So we got to deal with right now. One of my other good colleagues, she told me this 3 years ago. She said, "I've seen him right now is perfect. Yesterday is gone. The moment a few moments ago is gone. But right now is all we have. Tomorrow, she's gonna take care of herself. But all we have is right now. Take one day at a time." And I love what you said. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Cut some slack. Cut yourself some slack. You cut everybody else some slack, and you don't cut yourself slack. And one of the 7 things I'm gonna talk about in my webinar, you gotta love yourself. Love YOU.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do something you've never done before. Challenge yourself. I'm wrapping up my Hebrew class, and we got a final Monday. I've learned I've taken Hebrew, and I should have taken it a long time ago. So I challenged myself. I'm taking Hebrew. Part 2 is this fall, and then in the spring of 2022, I'm going to take Greek. And I've been peppering that into my talks and stuff. So I'm challenging myself, and just one day at a time, and enjoy. Another thing we have learned that we enjoy every day. Time is really precious. And so let's enjoy time, enjoy our loved ones, enjoy family, and just keep going. Don't give up. That's my theme for the month of August on the show. Keep going. And Danny, when you come back, part 3 is the rantings of Danny Cook.
Oh, wow. Here we go. Okay. So let me say this. I made some notes so I wouldn't forget. I love what you said, taking one day at a time. For me, sometimes I can't even do the day. Right.
Amen.
So for me, sometimes I have to take the morning, right? Then I have to take the afternoon when I'm working out. So like all of y'all know, I'm a disabled veteran, and sometimes it is not very comfortable. And so I might be doing a set of 15 reps. I don't even count the 15 when I get, and I know how many I've got. I'll say to myself, just do one more, and then one more, and then one more. And before you know it, I've completed my hour-long workout, right?
That's good. That's
it's like I don't focus on, oh my gosh, I got to do 10 reps. Nope, I got to do 1 rep and then do 1 more and then do 1 more.
That's good.
Sometimes that's how we have to get through life, right? Especially
that's a blessing.
Or if it's uncomfortable. The other thing that I will say, I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna impart something to you, Dr. Sims. I heard you say 2 things tonight, and I made notes on both. Okay. 1, you said you'd spent 30 years as an engineer, and then you got into the coaching and whatever. And had you done it sooner, you and your daddy would have had, even an even better relationship, and even whatever, right? We tend to do what I call the wish syndrome. I wish I'd done it sooner. And we do it based on a story we've made up that if we had done it the way we're wishing, then this really good thing would have happened, right? But the truth is, we don't know.
That's true.
Right? We don't know what would have happened had you done it sooner, right? So what we do is when we say, I wish I'd done it sooner, better, different, right? We make ourselves dissatisfied with the wonderful thing we already have. You ended up in a beautiful place with your father.
That's
right?
good. That's good.
So celebrate just that one thing and don't make it lack anything else.
That's good. I got to jot it down.
Okay. And then the second thing you just said the same thing about Hebrew. You said, I should have done it sooner. So I have this thing that I say, when you should yourself, you shit on yourself. So stop shitting on yourself, right? Because should is a judgment that somehow what you're doing isn't enough, right? So don't shit on yourself. You did it right when you were supposed to.
I love it. I got those 2 nuggets written down. I told you I love you. I told you I love you. I didn't sharp as I got it written down.
So this is Dr. Walter Sims. He is the Minister of Motivation, Life Coaching. I'm going to pop his email address in the comments. He is going to give one follower, the first one to email him, a spot in his webinar. That's a $97 value. So if you're looking to be wifey, that's your deal. Go on and hit him up. And then second is an hour power with him. So both of those 2 things are absolutely phenomenal and worthy to do. So I'm going to pop that right on in there. So the first 2 folks to do that, have at it.
Boom.
And I really do appreciate you for coming in, dropping by. We'll have to do it again.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for having me. And I follow you on all social media platforms. I love your Instagram. There's one set of pictures in particular. I'm like, you're just amazing. And thank you for your service. And thank you for not stopping. And I know you never complain. You rant, but you don't complain. You keep going. You keep going. And I admire that about you.
I appreciate that very much. I promised Kayla, this is going to be really weird to stick it in right here.
Okay.
But I promised Kayla before I ended the broadcast that I would recap what the earlier piece of this. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to Dr. Sims, and you guys make sure that you follow him on social media platforms. The energy that you saw him have tonight, he always has. I've never seen him any different. I appreciate you very much. And we will see you again very soon, sir.
Good night. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, so Kayla, you had asked me about, let me first, before I go into it all over again, Kayla, are you still here and watching? And if you are, could you just please comment? If you are not, then I'm going to assume that you will watch the replay and the beginning of it that you missed. Thanks, Wendell. So, Kayla, you are here. Great. I'm going to do it. See, I kept my word, girl. Thank you for hanging tight. Okay. So, Kayla, what had really concerned me was, that Dr. Ginger Carter is on the Board of Education for Johnson City Schools. And she, you're very welcome. She had made some comments during the Board of Education meeting, which I posted the video on my page and I shared it in this live as well, that concerned me. But then a parent reached out to me who had emailed the entire board directly. And the parent had emailed her, and I'm going to just paraphrase so that you kind of get the gist of it. But the parent emailed and said, hey, listen, school's about to start up. The CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics are both recommending masks in school. I'm encouraging you to, follow their guidelines, so forth and so on. And she put links to studies and their guidelines in this email. And all of the Board of Education was on this email thread with her. And Michelle, I'm reading names on the screen. Ginger Carter replied back, and here's what she said. The first time she replied back, she said that there was lots of conflicting reports out there. I'm looking at it now, and that they were going to be looking at all of this data and making this decision that that children were not considered to be spreaders of COVID-19, that they were at an extremely low risk for complications from COVID-19. And she was saying that, there was even controversy around masks with children and its impact on them. And this mom replied back with a list of like 6 medical reports from like Cedars-Sinai, the CDC, the WHO, the American Academy of Pediatrics, like very substantiated, well-respected sources for information. And so she responded back and she told Ginger Carter, thank you, Mary Hubbard. She said, hey, listen, I find your assertion that children are not spreaders of COVID and are at low risk of complications to be cavalier. The American Academy of Pediatrics reported last week that more than 4 million young children and adolescents have tested positive for the virus. Quote, COVID-19 rates are now highest among children, says Dr. Priya Soni, a pediatric infectious disease expert at Cedars-Sinai. Quote, in fact, children make up 1/4 of new COVID cases, and despite early news reports, children can get very sick from COVID-19. She then goes on to tell Dr. Ginger Carter about the vaccine trials for children that are under 12, and they're underway for both Pfizer and Moderna. She tells them that the FDA has requested 3,000 children to be a part of these studies from ages 5 to 11, that a spokesperson for Moderna, Ray Jordan, confirmed that the company actually intends to expand that number to enroll a larger safety database, which increases the likelihood of detecting rarer events. And so this mom is like super informed, and she's like, boom, on it. this is when it really concerned me, Kayla. So using her ETSU email address, Dr. Ginger Carter said this. She said, there are several, though not well publicized by mainstream media, conflicting reports. I will attach one of the more recent ones from the America's Frontline Doctors for your review. Now, you all know that America's Frontline Doctors, like the founder, Simone Gold, was arrested for participating in the attacks on the Capitol. You know that Stella, whatever her name is, was talking about alien DNA and all this other stuff. And like, they have been debunked. And she is citing the America's Frontline Doctors as one of her sources for information and her decision-making around masks and stuff in schools. She then goes on to say, unfortunately, and I'm quoting, unfortunately, the AAP and even the CDC is becoming more like a political action committee. She says that Pfizer is a big donor to the AAP, which it's not. I already covered that in a live earlier this week. And then she said this, and this is where you are probably going to be concerned if she's your OBGYN. This is what she says. Many pediatricians no longer support them, meaning the American Academy of Pediatrics, with their membership, just as I can no longer support the American College of OBGYN with membership dues because of their alliances with donors and politics. It is concerning to me that this physician is quoting doctors who have been debunked, who are giving misinformation, and that she is equating the CDC and the AAP to a political PAC, and that she's completely spewing misinformation regarding the effects of COVID-19 on children and what's currently happening. If you saw Alan Levine tweet today, and I know everybody's really shocked that I'm agreeing with Alan, but if you saw him, he responded to Natalie Allison. She's a healthcare reporter. And Natalie Allison had tweeted today that Lisa Piercy, the commissioner for the Department of Health, had said that children's hospitals in Tennessee were on pace to be full by the end of next week. And Natalie had said, well, which children's hospitals? And Dr. Piercy's reply was all of them. So all the children's hospitals in the state of Tennessee are on pace to be full by the end of next week. That's how much this virus is spreading, and our children are getting it and being hospitalized from it. Alan Levine responded to Natalie Allison's tweet, and he said, and children have died from it. Children are on ventilators. And he said, and all of it could be prevented, including what's coming. It is very scary what's happening, and very concerning that healthcare professionals and education professionals from ETSU and this particular professional is spreading misinformation and including links to this misinformation to parents in the community. So that's it in a nutshell. If you want any more detail than Matt, you can rewatch the very beginning or just hit me up and I'll be happy to share with you or chat with you or something like that. You're very welcome. This is important stuff, right? I think that it is perfectly fine for people to have political opinions, right? But when you are a healthcare provider and you're responsible for the health and well-being of patients, it is important for you to rely on the trusted, respected expert sources and data and the science that we know to be true. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case here. And that is frightening. So, and that's why I felt it was important to share. So, and I also expressed, I put the links in here and the information for people who feel like, as a healthcare provider and as a representative of ETSU, this video you'll be able to rewatch as soon as I end the broadcast, Chandra. Absolutely. And it's a little bit of a weird mix tonight because I didn't know I was going to get this email information. So I started the broadcast off talking about it. And then I had already asked Dr. Sims to be a guest tonight. He's a great coach. And I know I wear a myriad of hats, and it can be confusing for people. To me, investigative journalism and letting people in the community know what's happening and in the country know what's happening is important. I believe that people need to be informed, right? So that's one hat. My other hat, is a coach. I'm a certified life coach. I truly do care about the health and well-being of people. I believe that all of us have experienced some sort of significant trauma in our lives, and it is important for us to figure out how to connect with ourselves and with each other in order to heal and grow and be okay. I firmly believe to the core of my being that the solutions that we desire to see in this world, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's poverty, whether it's crime, whether it's violence, whether it's politics, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, I believe that the way that we solve those things is by getting connected with ourselves and with each other, because the more connected we are, the less likely we are to engage in behavior and things that hurt each other, right? That's what I believe. And so my hope is to be able to marry the worlds that I live in and to be able to help people become informed, to cut through the misinformation, and to be able to connect with each other and heal and grow and be okay as we go through, all of this change and all of these challenges that we have in the world right now. So that's what I hope to do. So you are very welcome, Chandra. I appreciate you guys very much. You guys can watch this. I will be back on Monday at 8 p.m. I'm leaving tomorrow. Bella is going to turn 4. So our miracle baby is going to have a birthday party on Saturday. That's where I will be. She told me, she said, Tutu, you can come to my birthday party because you are friendly to me. I love you. So I'm packing up and heading to go see my babies, and I'll be back on Monday. So you guys be safe, right? Please do your research. Consider the risks. Wear your masks. Use your sanitizer. Y'all know I'm vaccinated. I chose to get the Pfizer vaccine because it wasn't part of Warp Speed, and the government wasn't involved. That was my own hang up. And for those of you all who do know, my oldest daughter, she did test positive for COVID last Saturday. I talked to her today. She's doing well. She's vaccinated as well. Her symptoms were like a mild fever, some sweating, a sore throat, some nasal stuff like nasal discharge. But her symptoms were relatively mild, and she's feeling much better now. She did lose some taste and smell and stuff, but I think it's coming back. So yay. I would rather that be the case than hospitalization, So I'm out of here, you guys. You guys be amazing, be light, be love. Peace.